Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another monthly AMA. I've switched off of the Tetris theme, and I hope that's okay. I'm having a lot of fun playing through Donkey Kong Country as well. It's kind of a fun nostalgia trip for me. It's different playing it on the Virtual Console as compared to my original experience that was on the Game Boy, but it's still a really fun game, and I would suggest that you check it out if you haven't done so or haven't had a chance to play it in a while, because there's a lot of really good things here. But there are a couple of things that I wanted to talk about today. I don't have any direct questions per se to go over, but if you do have those, be sure to leave them in the comments down below, and I'll refer back to this video for next month, and I'll probably also make a community post as well, asking for questions at this point in time next month also. So a couple of big updates for me. As I've mentioned in a couple of my videos in the past couple of weeks, I have purchased a home, moved in, and got a new office recording studio space set up, which is really liberating for a lot of different reasons. And the biggest of which is it means that I have a little bit more freedom to work on videos at my own pace as well as video projects. And because of that, one of the things that I really want to get back into doing is streaming. And I think that trying to keep with one stream a week for now is actually going to be pretty well or pretty consistent with what I'm capable of doing amidst the other video projects that I'm working on. Especially where a lot of the streams that I do don't necessarily turn into videos, because that would be a lot of footage to double back through and have to edit down. But there will certainly be things that you'll want to check out as I get into the streaming side of things. As a reminder, if you are not following me on Twitch, I have the link to my Twitch channel in the description of all of my videos. So if you're not following me there, go ahead and check that link once you're done watching this video and give me a follow that way. So when I do go live on Twitch, you'll be notified about it, and I'd love to have you swing by and show some support over there. Don't know if anything will really come from that, but if it does, we'll kind of address that at that point in time. One thing that I will be doing, hopefully this weekend, if not possibly at some point next week, is I will be doing another speed run stream, because I need to get back into the New Game Plus category, as that's the only one that I'm currently missing from my goal of having the record in all of the speedrun categories. And I would like to add a couple of additional categories to that as well, now that I'm a moderator for that game. But there's not a whole lot of things that could really be changed or altered with that, so we'll just kind of have to keep an eye on how that progresses and what's efficient per se. The other thing that I really wanted to talk about is we've had a couple of updates from Nintendo since our chat last month, and the biggest thing for me that I wanted to talk about from the Direct that was a couple of weeks ago is in reference to Metroid Dread. I probably won't pick that game up right as it comes out, but I think that there would be a real potential to get some enjoyment out of that. I played a little bit through Super Metroid, again on that Virtual Console, and I enjoyed what I played of it, but it did throw me for a loop a little bit, and I think that I got a little lost in that series. So I may have to revisit that at some point, and hopefully the newest installment is a little bit more straightforward and not as demanding in terms of knowledge and Easter eggs and other things within the map itself. Because I do think that there is a lot of fun to be had with that series. But Dread may very well be a great introduction to the series to kind of get a little more familiar with the base mechanics of that, and then see if it retroactively applies back to previous installments in the series. I personally am also in the camp that really likes the fact that we're going to start seeing Nintendo 64 games being added to the Switch's Virtual Console online subscription-based service. And the biggest reason that I'm a proponent of that is because it gives an opportunity for people who don't have those consoles or access to them to play those games. And one thing that you have to remember is Nintendo, first and foremost, is a business. And so, yes, they are going to look for ways to make money. And for people who were born well after the Nintendo 64s were entering circulation, this may be the best opportunity that they have to play any of those titles. And it's really cool that they're working in a retroactive online multiplayer type aspect for it, as well as when those games were initially being released, it wasn't even something that was conceived in regards to being able to play games with people who were not in the same room as you. That's really incredible, in my opinion. Now, I know that there are people that do think that it's just kind of a greedy move. I personally disagree, but everyone's entitled to their opinion. So if you'd like to let me know what your thoughts are in the comments, I'm open to hearing your thoughts and feedback on that as well. And of course, we do need to address the Nintendo Direct that happened today, the final Smash Direct, where we had Sora introduced to us as the final DLC character that's going to come out in just a couple of weeks. I personally don't have really any experience with the Kingdom Hearts series, but I'm not upset at this pick because I know that there's a lot of people that are really happy with Sora being added to the game. It may not have been my first pick, but at this point in time, I don't know that I had anyone specifically in mind of who I would have rather seen. So I'm really not going to complain. The biggest bombshells, I feel, had already either been deconfirmed previously or had been supplied to us. And personally, I think that the biggest and most impactful DLC characters for me, at the very least, were certainly Sephiroth and Minecraft Steve. But that's just because I know how game-changing and groundbreaking the Final Fantasy series was and how massive of a success specifically Final Fantasy VII was. I really need to make sure that I play that game, and I'm on the fence as to whether or not I should play the remastered version that's coming out in different installments. If I do want to play that version as my first experience with the game, I honestly think that I would be better off waiting until all sections are available for it. But in order to be a little more familiar with that game series, I honestly think that it may not be the worst idea to play the original version there. You can get that on the Virtual Console on the Switch as well for, I believe it's fairly cheap. So I may end up pulling the trigger on that and playing through that version of Final Fantasy to at least get myself familiar with the storyline and then be more appreciative of the remastered Final Fantasy once it has been released to its full completion. And then, of course, the addition of Minecraft Steve to Smash was monumental for a lot of different reasons, but that is one of the games that I am perhaps the most passionate about. I know that my channel doesn't really reflect that in terms of viewership and numbers, as most of you are here for the Marvel Ultimate Alliance and other Marvel-themed content that I produce. And as happy and as excited as I am that we've been very successful on that front, although the ramp up to the point where we are today has been considerably slower as compared to other channels on the platform, I think it's a good idea to have someone who can kind of walk you through some of the trickier spots in any given game. And I would consider myself to be one of the experts of Ultimate Alliance 3 at this point in time, especially with all of the grinding that I've done for the Reviewed and Ranked series, which will be coming to a conclusion in the next couple of weeks. So it's kind of sad that that's a project I've been working on for so long and it's just about over, but it really will serve as an excellent resource for people who pick up the game now or anytime later on in the future. The other thing that I wanted to mention briefly in regards to streaming is one of the things that I'd like to do at some point is I would like to successfully complete Nuzlocke for each of the games in the Pokemon series. And I think that that's something that would be started on Twitch. I mean, for one thing, I do need to play through a fair selection of the games because I just didn't own the handheld consoles that basically the entirety of the game series has been released on. I didn't have access to those growing up, so I really want to play through them to familiarize myself with the storyline and how that's supposed to work, and then dive back into it from a more competitive Nuzlocke type point of view. And maybe we'll do other challenges with Pokemon as well. You never know. And we'll just kind of have to see how well that does. I know that Nuzlockes are currently in a little bit of an upswing in popularity on YouTube, so that could potentially be something that works very well once I get to the point of actually doing the Nuzlocke runs and kind of condensing those down into more of a compressed series on the channel for sure. And the other two games that I do want to start doing some work on in the near future is, of course, we just had Nickelodeon All-Stars added. I didn't watch a whole lot of Nickelodeon shows growing up, but the Avatar reps in that series are more than enough to pique my interest and at least start familiarizing myself with them. And it'll be kind of fun to have an experience with a fighting game that does operate on a little bit of a higher level. Again, I didn't have a GameCube growing up, so I don't know a whole lot about Melee. I know that a lot of people swear by that game, and from the looks of it and the highlights and other things that I've watched, Nickelodeon All-Stars plays a little bit more similarly to Melee. So it'll be fun to kind of revisit that as a proof of concept type game and potentially hone my skills at not only that, but also get better at Smash Bros. Subsequently. And then I did also have a community post from a couple of weeks ago where I had a viewer recommend Hades to me. So I may very well pick that up. And if I don't do something with it on the channel, it will fall into that category of games that I will end up playing over on Twitch. So hopefully those of you who are interested in seeing me play any of those titles can find me either here on the channel or over on Twitch, wherever it is that ends up. And I know that everyone's schedules don't line up all the time, but we'll kind of have to see if the streaming thing gains any traction to the point where I should expand that into being a more consistent form of content for me. But I don't plan on leaving YouTube anytime soon, so I don't think you have to be worried about that. I think I've chatted for about as long as I really need to, so hopefully I can get a stream knocked out this weekend, and I would love to see you there if that is something that you are open to. And thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure that you leave that like. Be sure to leave any of your opinions or questions in the comments down below, and I'll review back through those periodically. I feel like I do a pretty good job at staying on top of the comments for my videos. And if you've made it this far into the video and you're not already, make sure that you subscribe to the channel for that daily variety content. Thank you so much for your time. I'm looking forward to finishing out this year with a lot of awesome projects in the works. So thanks for all your support, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care, everyone.